He wrote over 20 books that were published. And these books, he wrote them in such a way, many of them were not just for devotee audience, but for the general population, targeting at people who could be potentially very receptive to Krishna consciousness. He wrote books focused on the problem of sex passions, the problem of terrorism, the problem of war, the problem of suicide, the problem of poverty, the problem of mental disease and depression. Things that are relevant to people's lives all over the world. He was addressing them from a spiritual perspective and giving people Krishna consciousness. An intelligent class of people all over the world. His books have been translated in how many languages? Probably about 20 or 30 languages in the world. I don't know. I think 20 languages. And people who would otherwise never come near an institution of religion, what to speak of a religion like the Hare Krishna movement in the West, were reading his books, opening their hearts. Their hearts were transforming, and many people were becoming devotees, either directly or indirectly. Amazing. And he was doing something that practically, besides Jamuna Mataji, I don't know anybody else who has. Jamuna Prabhu's cookbook was the #1 cookbook in the whole world. And she was going on tours of the world, signing and giving lectures on cookbooks in bookstores. Besides Jamuna Prabhu, I think Bhakti Dhira Swami is the only other person who had this incredible empowered opportunity. With many of the books that he wrote, he was going on tours throughout America in the major established bookstores, giving seminars and signing his books and being promoted by the book publishing companies. And while he was doing that, according to his writings, according to his incredible connections with people in high places, wherever he went in the world, whether it was Russia or Africa or America or South America or Australia or Europe, he was on television stations, he was on radios, he was in the media. He was just such a fascinating, incredible person. He was giving seminars to devotees all over the world. They were the most popular seminars. He would usually give seminars on subjects that he really felt the devotees needed to hear, to be happy and stable in Krishna consciousness. I remember just a couple years ago in Divnomorsk, Russia, the festival, there was 4 to 5 seminars going on simultaneously. And most all the major leaders of ISKCON from all the world were there giving seminars, but by far his was the most popular. In his seminar, he had at least 3,000 Russian devotees sitting in rapt attention for 2 hours at a time every day. He was on the main morning television show in Russia, in Ukraine, in Latvia, and so many other countries. Meeting with big, big, powerful people. He was doing a type of preaching that no one else in the world within the Krishna consciousness movement could do. Why? What was the source of his empowerment? Every day he was writing his diary, praying to Prabhupada. Na danam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. Mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatad bhakti rohita kitvai. This was his spirit. I do not want money. I do not want sex. I do not want wealth. I do not want fame. I do not want liberation. I only want to serve you. I only want to serve Srila Prabhupada by expanding his glorious mission of compassion. Because he begged for service, he was given such extraordinary service. Empowered. A few years ago, I was in Gita Nagari with him. At that time, we got the news that one devotee had committed suicide. Forgive me if I'm speaking something improper, but it does show the nature of his compassion. The devotees couldn't understand why this initiated devotee would do such a thing. It was a mystery. What happened is the sister of this devotee, she understood the open-hearted, compassionate nature of Bhakti Dhira Swami. She opened up to him, and she sent a message to Bhakti Dhira Swami that my brother, just a few days before he took his life, wrote to me and told me that he's homosexual. But he was a devotee. And the Krishna conscious philosophy does not accept illicit sex, and homosexual sex can only be illicit. So he didn't see how he could fit in the society, but at the same time he didn't see how he could leave the society, because he firmly believed in Krishna. So he decided to take his life. Nobody even knew what was in his mind. He kept it all secret. Bhakti Dhira Maharaj and I had a very deep and long discussion when he received this message from the sister. He was so deeply concerned. He said, "We don't accept homosexuality. It's not acceptable in our culture or philosophy. But Prabhupada says you hate the disease, not the diseased. The problem is if these people are not respected, if they're condemned, then either they're going to leave Krishna consciousness altogether and never get purified, or they're going to do what this person has done, which is the absolute worst thing." He's saying whatever a person's sins may be, whatever a person's nature may be, we may not accept that, but they should be encouraged and respected as human beings, Vaishnavas, and given the chance to be Krishna conscious. And he was just struggling in his mind how to do this, how to make this balance. And there were some people, even leaders of ISKCON, who very much criticized him. Not high leaders, but somewhat, who criticized him. He's sympathetic toward this type of irreligious activity. But they didn't understand at all his spirit, his heart. He was simply compassionate to the spirit souls. Whatever a person's habits, whatever a person's nature, whatever a person's problems, if we want to elevate them, they have to be encouraged to go on being Krishna conscious. This was the nature of his compassion. And he actually really tried to, in many cases, people with that and different types of problems, drug addicts, alcoholics, homosexuals, people with all kinds of different habits and natures and problems, they were coming to Bhakti Dhira Swami. He didn't encourage them to do what they were doing, but he showed them love and respect and wanted to help them to overcome their problems overcome their nature and become Krishna conscious. And he became a shelter for so many people like that. That was just his nature. To be loving, compassionate, and respectful to every living being. Maharaj gave shelter to so many people. The African people, especially in some places, are still considered minorities and not treated proper respect. Thousands of African people in Africa and all over the world. Prabhupada disciples, disciples of other gurus, and hundreds his own disciples, they found shelter in him. They found a hero in him. They felt Krishna's love in him. Alienated devotees, many devotees who are Prabhupada's disciples who have been alienated from our mission, and other second-generation devotees, I believe more than anyone else, their trust and their faith in Bhakti Dhira Swami brought them closer and gave them shelter. Many Gurukulis, the Gurukulis are the young generation who were born in our movement and who went to the Gurukula. He gave so much of his time, so much of his energy, so much of his heart's love to help them, to inspire them, to respect them, encourage them, and to nourish them with pure bhakti. In fact, recently, I was at an assembly of people from the Gurukula, and they all together, they made a very beautiful statement. Shall I tell? No. They said, we are from the Gurukul, and we know that Bhakti Dhira Swami is a cool guru. We are from Gurukul, and we know that Maharaj is a cool guru. They loved him. Perhaps the most popular leader of ISKCON to the Gurukul. Yes, we find in Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj the most transcendental story of rags to riches. Starting with nothing and not even a hope or a chance and becoming a world leader. This little black African boy in the ghettos of Cleveland from a broken home, didn't even have a father, hardly any clothes or food to eat, violent crimes all around him, stammering, couldn't even talk properly, people, even his own people, laughing at him and ridiculing him. What chance did that little boy in the ghettos of Cleveland have to succeeding in life? And some years later, author of 20 books, bookstore, darshans, television, international leaders, UN consultant. When I was at Gita Nagari, I saw devotees from South America, from North America. I saw devotees from Australia, from India, from every country, Italy, France, England, from Russia, from Africa, every continent in the world. There were devotees who were taking shelter of him, who were surrendering to him as the topmost inspiration of their lives. What an incredible story of success. And it all came about by his sincere prayers for devotional service. In 2004, he was at the peak of his career of spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. He was at the summit of his career of affecting people's lives in such a deep way. He wrote a Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Prabhupada. In that Vyasa Puja offering, please do read it. He prayed to Prabhupada that I wish that I could say everything is so wonderful. But the fact is, as I travel around the world, I see there are many devotees who are struggling with bad habits of the past, many obstacles and anarthas in their hearts, many bad habits. Many devotees in this world, they're not able to maintain spiritual standards and they're feeling very sorry. There's depression. He could not tolerate seeing devotees suffer. He was giving seminars, he was preaching, he was giving kirtans. He was personally counseling anybody that would come to him. That year he traveled to 32 countries. It was a victorious tour. But he said, still, devotees need help. Therefore, he prayed to Srila Prabhupada, let me take the spirit of Vasudeva Datta and let me suffer. And let my, if you so desire, Prabhupada, if you so desire Krishna, let me suffer and let my suffering remove the obstacles so that devotees could have a happy life in Krishna consciousness and go back home, back to Godhead. He offered this prayer from his heart. Soon after, he was diagnosed with melanoma cancer. A cancer that, by clinical analysis, is not possible to cure. According to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vasudeva explains, and Prabhupada confirms, that it is the duty of a person to try to protect his life, because God has given us this body. It is our duty, according to the need, to try to sustain and maintain this body, especially when it's being utilized in such valuable service to Krishna. So he tried many cures. He went to Mexico, Arizona, Hawaii, various natural methods, allopathic methods. But ultimately, it was understood that it could not be cured. During the process, the doctors felt if he amputated one of his legs, that would remove the cancer. So he had a major surgery and amputated his leg. Can you imagine what a sacrifice that was? That most graceful, divine, dancing leg being cut by a surgeon's saw. But even after that, it had already spread throughout his body. Please listen carefully. He was such in a spirit of service. And a devotee sees everything as an opportunity to serve. He decided that to take this whole dying experience and share it with the world in a totally positive Krishna conscious spirit. And he wrote his last book, Die Before Dying. An amazing book. An amazing book that teaches where he shares his realizations and experiences of going through the transformations of death and dying in a perfectly Krishna conscious perspective. When he saw that he didn't have much time to go, many devotees were making arrangements for him to go to Vrindavan, to leave his body. Other devotees were calling him to Mayapur to leave his body, because to leave your body in the holy Dham is considered supremely auspicious. But please hear, my brothers and sisters, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's faith in Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said that all of his centers were none different than Goloka Vrindavan, because the selfless, unconditional service of Radha and Krishna is taking place there. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj wanted to preach, wanted to spread the glories of Prabhupada's message even in his dying. He decided that he would leave his body in Gitanagari. Why? Because he wanted to make a very strong statement to the world that wherever Prabhupada's centers are, because of Prabhupada's mercy, that is a holy Dham. And that is a holy place, fit to die and go back home, back to Godhead. In going to Gitanagari, he was showing his faith, his love, and his intense desire to glorify the mercy of Srila Prabhupada's compassion. Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj ki. He said, Srila Prabhupada came to Gitanagari and made it a holy place. His lotus feet stood here. Therefore, for me it is Vrindavan. Such a wonderful realization. This year, I returned to New Vrindavan in the month of May. From this part of the story, I'm going to share with you my own personal experiences in relation to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Many of these stories are very deeply personal to me. Some are too personal for me to speak. Do I have your permission? Without details, New Vrindavan was going through a very difficult transition in management, and it was very much affecting the community. There was certain blockages in communication, and for months, devotees were waiting for me to come back to help resolve it. It was a very critical issue, and I took it very seriously, as they did. So I returned to New Vrindavan, and there was a North American GBC and Temple President's leadership meeting where all the leaders of America come to New Vrindavan to discuss. That was for 3 days. I'm sorry, 2 days. And then after that, there was the Festival of Inspiration, where devotees from all over America come, where there's so many seminars and kirtans and lectures and dramas. It's the biggest festival of the year of this sort in America. So I returned to New Vrindavan, and there was a North American GBC and Temple President's leadership meeting where all the leaders of America come to New Vrindavan to discuss. That was for 3 days. I'm sorry, 2 days. And then after that, there was the Festival of Inspiration, where devotees from all over America come, where there's so many seminars and kirtans and lectures and dramas. It's the biggest festival of the year of this sort in America. And the whole time all these meetings and festivals were going on, I was just thinking, the undercurrent of tension in this community is so heavy. I just have to start these meetings to try to resolve it. And the devotees were very much putting pressure. We have to start these meetings. I said, the day after the festival's done, we'll have our meetings. It was very intense. It was crucial. Festival was going to be finished on Sunday night. I was scheduled Sunday afternoon to give the plenary session lecture to the whole festival group, to everyone who was participating. I spoke with Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj on the phone. Before coming to New Vrindavan, I visited him for 3 days. Then I went to Chicago, and then I came back to New Vrindavan. I spoke to him on the phone, and he told me that his health was really going down, and he believed that he would depart from this world within 2 or 3 days. And he told me, tomorrow I'm giving the Sunday feast lecture, and this will probably be the last talk I ever give in this life. So I decided I must be there for that lecture. So I approached Anuttama Prabhu, who was coordinating the whole festival. A very wonderful, loving God brother. I said, can you excuse me from giving my lecture so I can go to Gita Nagari? He said, give the morning session. I'll change you to the morning session for the plenary session, and then you could leave. In fact, I'm also going. So I gave the morning session and simply spoke about my love and appreciation for Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj, and then I told everyone that he may not live for very long, so right now I'm going to Gita Nagari, and you'll be pleased to know that 200 devotees left the festival and drove to Gita Nagari. Right in the middle of the festival. It's a 5 to 6 hour drive. We got there, and he was giving his lecture in the lawn. Incredible lecture. I've never seen anything like this. What a master of compassion. He was speaking such profound philosophy, so deep, just cutting right to the core of everyone's heart. He had everyone weeping, and sometimes even he would be weeping. Everyone was weeping, and then he would start telling incredible, humorous jokes, and everyone would be roaring in laughter and weeping and laughing simultaneously. We were all going mad. But it was very deep subject matter. Really touching people's hearts. And after he gave this brilliant speech, his caretakers lifted him up because he could not walk. He was very thin. and they put him on his wheelchair. And my plan was, right after his lecture, I was going back to New Vrindavan, get there real late at night, and next morning, the meetings that we were waiting for months. He sat on his wheelchair, and I came up to offer my obeisances. And with a very soft, loving voice, he said, "Maharaj, are you staying for a few days?" I said, "Maharaj, whatever pleases you, I will do." He said, "I will be very grateful if you stay for 2 or 3 days." I said, "I will stay." The next day I came to meet him, and Maharaj said to me, "When I pass away, I will be very grateful if you could come back to Gitanagari and help with the last rites and give association to these devotees, because they will need shelter." I said, "Maharaj, I will come back." Meanwhile, the meeting at New Vrindavan was scheduled for 3 days later. The third day, I was going to ask leave of him. We had Krishna Katha. We were talking about Krishna and Vrindavan for about 2-3 hours. And then just before I was about to say, "I'm going back to New Vrindavan now," he looked at me. He had tears in his eyes, tears of such pure affection. With folded palms, he spoke so sweetly, "Maharaj, I want to die in your arms. Please stay with me." I said, "Maharaj, I'm here. As long as you're living in this body, I'm here with you. There's nothing else Prabhupada would want me to do." So I stayed with Maharaj. From that day on, devotees from New Vrindavan were coming to Gitanagari to have meetings with me, and I was on the phone with them for hours and hours a day sometimes. And it was quite intense. But by Maharaj's love and kindness, he allowed me to remain. I'd like to tell you some of the things that I saw. After that festival of inspiration, probably 50 or 60 of Prabhupada's disciples came from New Vrindavan just to be with Bhakti Dhira Maharaj. They all gathered in his room. I never saw anything like this. He was empowered to reach their hearts. Literally, everyone was just taking shelter of his lotus feet. People were just crying with love, with gratitude, with such reverence. And he was speaking with such affection, with such intelligence, and with such wonderful philosophy, just transforming his own God brothers and God sisters' hearts. He gave us all such deep encouragement. Nobody could leave. The caretaker said it's time to go, but nobody could leave. Even when he said, his body was dying, but still he was giving of himself so much. And he couldn't bear for them to leave, and they couldn't bear to leave. It was such a beautiful exchange of love. On another day, some people I know very well. Some were Prabhupada's disciples, some were Guru Kulis. People who were, many of them, totally broken-hearted and alienated. People who had not come to a lecture in ISKCON for years. People who wouldn't even go to a temple in ISKCON. I knew them. They were my friends. They still are my friends, but I understand the problems they were having. They had to come to see Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj. The whole room was full of these types of people. It was magnificent. His heart just entered right into the core of their hearts. The super soul empowered him with the exact perfect words that they needed to hear. I could not believe what I was seeing. People who were cynical, people who were abrasive, their hearts were melting right before my eyes. He spoke to them for over 2 hours, and the entire time, tears were pouring from every single person's eyes. They gave their hearts to him. He captured their minds. He transformed them. And as they came out of the room, they were all just weeping and crying, saying, I am transformed. I'll never be the same after that experience. And one of these boys, who's gone through a lot of hardships, he looked at me and said, in my whole life, I have never seen anyone so close to God as Bhakti Dhira Maharaj. Maharaj arranged a whole feast of wonderful prasad for all of his guests when they would come in the living room outside of his room. It was impossible for people to even eat. They were in such an emotional state. I went back in the room. I said, Maharaj, how did you do that? I've been a devotee for about 35 years. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen anything like that. Maharaj, I've known you for about 33 years. And I've seen you give dynamic lectures. I've seen you mesmerize people's minds. I've seen you change people's hearts. I've seen you convince people. But I've never seen you do anything like this. You have taken people who have been alienated and cynical, and you melted their hearts. You transformed them right before my eyes. Maharaj, this cannot be you speaking. You have become Prabhupada's puppet. And Maharaj looked at me very sincerely. And said, yes, I've never been able to affect people's lives like this before. Never. With all my prayers, with all my efforts, I've never been able to do this, to reach right into the core of people's hearts and transform them. But it is not me. By Prabhupada's mercy, he's made me his puppet, and he's making me dance as he wishes for me to dance. This is what I have always prayed for, to be an instrument of Prabhupada's mercy and transform people's hearts. My whole life as a devotee, I've prayed for this. And Krishna has fulfilled my prayer. He said, this disease is a great benediction. Because since I've gotten this disease, people are coming to me with such open and sympathetic hearts. And I'm speaking things that I do not even know. When I speak to these people, I don't even think about it. I don't even know what I'm saying. A voice is speaking through me, things that I don't even know. Maharaj then said something to me that changed my life. After he spoke these words, everything that seemed so inconceivable to me made sense. Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj said that since I've had this cancer, in the last few months, I have affected people's lives in such a way that I could have never been able to do if I lived another 30 years. Therefore, this disease is the blessing and benediction of Prabhupada. Because I am not living to live. I am living to serve. And in this condition, I am doing a greater service, quantitatively and qualitatively, than I could have ever done if I lived a long life. Therefore, this disease is the answer to my prayer. And I would not trade my position for anyone else in the world because of the service I'm allowed to render. People wonder why such a great devotee could have possibly be put in such a painful condition of dying, such a disease. But this was the positive attitude that Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj understood it. And he had complete faith. And whatever he said was perfectly true, and I could testify from what I saw before my eyes. Then Maharaj started explaining to me some of the ways he's helping people. He showed me letters and told me about one god sister who was downtrodden. Her life was ruined. She became an alcoholic. She stopped all sadhana and all association of devotees. But when she heard about Bhakti Dhira Swami dying of cancer and read some of the things that she was saying, she wrote to him and said, "It's changed my life." She asked him questions, asked him for shelter. He gave her guidance by email and by telephone. She gave up alcohol. She moved right next to a temple, started chanting her rounds, following her vows, and practicing Krishna consciousness, assisting Prabhupada's mission. People who have been away from years were coming to Bhakti Dhira Swami to take shelter. People with all kinds of difficulties and problems. It was unbelievable. Yes, during those weeks, Maharaj was a puppet of Prabhupada, an instrument of Radharani's love. There is no doubt. He extended himself to everyone. His body was such a painful condition, it was heartbreaking to see. At one time, he just tried to lift a little briefcase, and because cancer had eaten away his bones, his collarbone just cracked. He had a broken collarbone, an amputated leg, tumors all over his body, Some of them so big you could see them. He had tumors in the knee of his good leg, tumors in his chest, tumors in his groins. He was becoming emaciated. It was so painful to see him in this situation. He was such an independent person who hated to have anyone serve him. And he was in a condition where he couldn't walk, he couldn't stand, he couldn't sit up without people helping him, lifting him. To go to the bathroom, he had to be lifted. And yet, even despite such difficulty, every Sunday he gave the Sunday feast lecture. And devotees from all over Gita Nagari, from Washington, D.C., from New York, from Detroit, from New Vrindavan, from Maryland, from New Jersey, people were coming all over just to hear Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj's Sunday feast lectures. And he would lead enthusiastic kirtans with Gopal Prabhu playing mridanga. And he would give dynamic lectures, empowered lectures, full of love, compassion. He was literally extending himself for everybody and anybody. He was giving his life to the Vaishnavas, expecting nothing in return. Bhakti Dhira Maharaj, out of his kindness upon me, requested that I come every day to help him to always remember Vrindavan, Radha and Krishna, and their beautiful pastimes. So every day I came, and he considered this Sangam so sacred. He would not allow anyone else to be in the room with us. Even his personal caretakers would have to leave. And we would speak for 1 to 3 hours every day. One of our dear friends and God brothers remained for a long time during those 7.5 weeks at Gita Nagari. Many of you know him. His name is Mahamuni Prabhu. One day, a group of Prabhupada's disciples was meeting with His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj. Maharaj was speaking so eloquently, right to the heart of each devotee. Mahamuni was so deeply moved by Bhakti Dhira Swami's compassion and his profound words of wisdom that he was incessantly weeping tears. After the dialogue with all of the devotees completed, Maharaj very affectionately turned to Mahamuni Prabhu. He said, when I was a new devotee, Mahamuni Prabhu, he said, I served under you for some time, and you were such a strict authority on everyone who was working under you. He said, I remember how difficult it was due to your strictness. Mahamuni Prabhu was an American soldier. And in the Vietnam War, he commanded a whole division in the front lines of battle. So he did have that military training, and he could be quite strict. Bhakti Dhira Maharaj said, Mahamuni, someday I'm going to get even with you. And then Maharaj very lovingly, very, very affectionately, he made a fist. He said, Mahamuni Prabhu, I'm going to punch you in the jaw. And Mahamuni Prabhu said, please, Maharaj, please punch me. And Maharaj was laughing. He was laughing, very sweet. He said, Mahamuni Prabhu, I want to punch you in the jaw. Someday I am going to punch you in the jaw. Mahamuni said, please do it, do it. And they laughed. Very soon after this, I went to meet Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj. And when I came out of his room, I was scheduled to give a lecture at the Dhira Damodara temple of Gitanagari that evening. So I was just about to leave. And one of Maharaj's disciples, her name Agnihotra Mataji, from Cleveland, Ohio, she said to me that on my Gurudev's request, today I have made special prasad. It is genuine soul food. And she started telling me the whole menu. Collard greens. And one preparation, she said, was barbecued curd steaks with hickory sauce. She said, would you like some? I said, how can I refuse barbecued curd steaks with hickory sauce? I never had anything like that. It's definitely soul food. So I said, but I don't want to have it until Maharaj takes it, and it is his Maha Prasad. So then they brought the plate into Maharaj, and I went to give lecture, and someone came and delivered to me in nice containers all the different preparations. So Mahamuni Prabhu was at the lecture, and we were staying in the same house together, at the house of my very dear godbrother and godsister Yadunandan Prabhu and Taruni Mataji. So as we're driving back, Mahamuni Prabhu is noticing a very exotic fragrance. I said, do you know what that is? He said, what? I said, it's soul food. I said, it's Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj's Maha Prasad. And today we will eat it. Now we got back about 11 o'clock at night. I served it out. And we ate little. We both had just a little. Especially we liked the barbecued curd steaks and hickory sauce. And then we took rest. We were sharing the same room. The next morning I got up because I was supposed to give class, Srimad Bhagavatam class. And when I woke up, I saw Mahamuni Prabhu. His eyes were bloodshot. He was holding his jaw, and he was groaning in pain. I said, Maharaj, what happened? He said, I didn't sleep all night. I said, why? He said, because of intense, unbearable pain. I said, well, what happened? He said, Maharaj did it to me. I said, what do you mean? He said, he hit me in the jaw through his Maha Prasad. The hickory sauce somehow or other dripped in under his bridges and his teeth and made his whole jaw and mouth swollen in excruciating pain. And he said, Maharaj did it. He promised me he would punch me in the jaw. And through his prasad, He punched me right in the jaw. He was in pain for several weeks. Now the next day, that morning, I told the story to all the devotees at Vitanagari during Srimad Bhagavatam class, and they were really pleased to hear it. Mahamuni Prabhu didn't go to class because he was in too much pain, but the next time he went out, everyone was asking, Mahamuni Prabhu, how is your jaw? And he said, how did you know? He said, there was a whole Srimad Bhagavatam class about that. So the next day I told the whole story to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and he was laughing so much. He said, yes. And Mahamuni Prabhu came in the next day, and Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj had his fist out. He said, how did it feel, Mahamuni Prabhu? How did it feel? So we read about the power of prasad. But more important than prasad, more powerful than prasad, is Mahaprasad. The prasad that is directly from the plates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead on the altar. But even more powerful than Mahaprasad is Mahaprasad, which is that Mahaprasad that is from the plates of a devotee. Mahaprasad has been glorified by greatest of acharyas. Haridas Thakur, that was his prayer. During Mahaprakash Leela, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Haridas, take any benediction and I will give it. What would you like? Thakur Haridas replied that I do not want anything. I am satisfied simply being the servant of your servant. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I insist, ask for something. Haridas Thakur said, there is one desire in my heart that you could fulfill. In every birth that I may take, give me the benediction that I will always receive the foodstuffs that has been left behind on the plates of your devotees. Maha Prasad. Let that benediction be mine. Even if I be a dog or an insect near the house of a devotee, I will be grateful to receive the remnants of your devotees' food. Haridas became very embarrassed. He said, actually, I have no right. I am so fallen. Who am I to ask for such an exalted benediction? I am so fallen that I'm always longing to be seen as an important person. That is my shameless condition. Please, just grant me this benediction, that I may always worship within my heart the Maha Prasad, the food remnants that has fallen from the mouth of your devotees. And in this way, allow me to always be the servant of your servants. Prasad means mercy. On this wonderful, humorous occasion, we were laughing and joking for many days, especially Mahamuni. And every time he laughed, it increased the pain of his jaw, but still he couldn't stop laughing. Prasad means mercy, and he felt himself that he received an extraordinary act of mercy from His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Swami Maharaj Ki. Shall I continue? Each day, we would meet for approximately 1 to 3 hours in the solitude of one another's association. I asked him, what would you like me to speak on, or what would you like to discuss? He said, whatever you think is most appropriate. But he especially wanted to focus his mind on Vrindavan. So we began our discussion. With the narration of Srila Madhavendra Puri. Surrender to Krishna. And the wonderful way in which he departed from the world. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it describes how when Madhavendra Puri, the greatest of all Vaishnavas, the Param Guru of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as he was leaving the world, again and again he recited a particular verse. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained that this is crest jewel of verses. As sandalwood or chandan increases its fragrance as we rub it, similarly, realization of devotional mellows increase as we contemplate this verse. As Kostubamani is the most precious of all jewels, this verse is the crest jewel of mellow prayers. And it is explained by Kaviraj Goswami that there are only 3 people who could understand the inner meaning of this prayer in full. One is Srimati Radharani, the other is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna with the Mahabhav of Srimati Radharani. Third is Madhavendra Puri. That is Madhavendra Puri's exalted position. By his example, he taught all of us the perfection of leaving one's body. In the spirit of love and separation. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport to this prayer that for the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, there is no higher experience, no greater goal than love in separation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the mood of Krishna. He was in the mood of Srimati Radharani after Krishna left for Mathura, at the time when Uddhava came back to give message. This was the spirit of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love. And the origin, the seed of that love within this world was Madhavendra Puri. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was explaining the glories of Madhavendra Puri, he was doing it as if he had many, many mouths. And when he began to chant this particular prayer, the last prayer of Madhavendra Puri, he was so choked up and emotional, he could only get a couple syllables out. And he was dancing and crying, hair standing on end, limbs trembling, running, dancing. So much inspired by the power of this prayer. So after discussing at great length for several hours the nature of Madhavendra Puri's love, together we recited this prayer. And from that day on, every meeting we had for the next almost 8 weeks, we would begin our meetings and end our meetings by reciting this prayer over and over again. Would you like to recite this prayer? This is the mood of Srimati Radharani, feeling that separation from Krishna, which is the ultimate experience. And it was Madhavendra Puri's feelings of separation. It was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feelings of separation. It was Prabhupada's feelings of separation on Jaladuta. And it is the perfect prayer to meditate upon when leaving this world. Usually Maharaj was laying in his bed, and I was sitting by his side, holding his hand throughout our discussions. And it was in this mood that we would recite the prayer. And Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, although he was such a powerful, super intelligent general, when we would have our talks together, he was like an innocent child, like a beautiful, sweet little cowherd boy. It was the most beautiful, sweet experience to be with him. So humble, so simple. He would just open his eyes and very submissively repeat the prayer of Madhavendra Puri. I would say one phrase and he would repeat. I would say one phrase and he would repeat. So you may repeat. Folded palms, please. O my Lord, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Because of my not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? O my Lord, as he said, O my Lord, his eyes would just be like an innocent child, just trying to perfectly pronounce from the core of his heart. O most merciful Master. When he would say that, he started getting choked up. O Master of Mathura, as he said this phrase, Maharaj would start trembling. When shall I see you again? As he said this, tears profusely poured from his eyes. And with a choked up voice, he had to struggle to say that. his whole body trembling. When shall I see you again? Because of my not seeing you. And this way his absorption in this verse just increased. My agitated heart has become unsteady. I was reciting it, but he was living it. As I was saying it, I could see. I could see by the symptoms of his voice, his eyes, and his body that he had realized this verse. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? The genuine emotions, feelings, and realizations in which he would chant this verse was with such innocence, such simplicity.
Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Aura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Aura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna जय।
निताय गौर प्रेमानंद।
हरि बोल।
Vishalaka Shiki Pucha Chamara Dulaya Apurva Saya Krishna Sukhe Nirayaya Yasomati Anga Priye Danishtaya Nito Krishna Prasad Radha Unje Hoye Prito Lalitari Saki Gana Avashesha Paya Mane Mane Sukhe Radha Krishna Guna Gaya Hari Lila Ekamatra Jahara Pamoda Bhogarati Gai Thakur Bhakti Vinoda